Oh my god, it's such a long video. No. Damn it. Hello and welcome back to the Miscellaneous channel where we do miscellaneous things. I'm Zeleny. Okay, so I'm getting my setup going here. It's not ready yet really, it's just sort of plain. But I am working on it. If you don't know me, I typically do pop culture and TV review along with other things on this channel, so subscribe if that's your vibe. So it's that time of the month again where I recap the month's pop culture and internet moments. This is going to be sort of the April 2021 trend report, time capsule, internet recap, whatever you want to call it. And April brought us a ton of interesting pop culture moments, scandals, filters, TikTok trends, slang, all kinds of things. So let's get into it. Like I said in my March video, this is heavily biased towards my own algorithm, my own interests in general, but I do try to keep things to like mainstream things as well. Hopefully you'll recognize some, if not all, of these trends or moments, and if you don't, I'll try to give you context to what happened. So let's begin with pop culture news as our first category. First, we have Bachelor alum Colton Underwood came out as gay, which led to a lot of feelings. Colton was The Bachelor a few seasons ago, and I did watch that season actually. His whole brand that they were branding him as was that he was a virgin. It feels like with this coming out moment, the virgin thing makes more sense. Like, he didn't really have like a religious reason on the season, but Colton Underwood's actually a very problematic figure, so the fans had very mixed reactions about it. I think most people are happy that he is out and comfortable with that now. He was a professional athlete before, so he's like in a field where it is stigmatized still. But on the other hand, the woman he ended up with on his season of The Bachelor named Cassie, she had a lot of issues with Colton as they dated post-show. She had a restraining order on him. He was stalking her a lot, bothering her and harassing her. So this coming out moment did feel a little bit of like an attempt at a redemption arc, and I think fans are still happy he can be comfortable and be out, sure, but also like they don't want to forget how problematic and how poorly he treated Cassie. So it's kind of a mixed thing, and there was also a lot of criticism because he went on Good Morning America. He's getting like all the attention, all good press from it. So people are sort of moving past the problematic stuff in the past. The biggest backlash came from, apparently Netflix is in the works of a reality TV show starring Colton Underwood about him discovering the gay world, I guess. And the TV show will also feature Gus Kenworthy as his gay guide. It just felt so dumb, and it felt very like white privilege, masculine privilege. Out of all the many queer people that would kill for a platform on Netflix, Colton Underwood struggling with being a muscly, masculine looking white guy, I don't think is like the biggest issue that needs platforming, I guess. And also he is super problematic. Gus Kenworthy is pretty basic, I don't know. So there was a lot of backlash for that, but a lot of good jokes too on Twitter and TikTok and everywhere else. So in other pop culture news, Brenda Song and Macaulay Culkin had a baby? Had a baby? Yeah, they had a baby, and the whole internet was surprised that they were dating at all. It was one of those funny moments where Twitter was just like, wait, they were dating, not just dating, but pregnant and now have a child. So this felt really random. I also discovered this with the news of their baby, so congratulations to them and cool. So the Oscars happened this past month, and honestly I did not know any movie nominated. Sorry, I did not watch literally any of them. Let me know if there's any worth watching. I know Judas and the Black Messiah was really good, but I didn't get to catch it because it was on HBO Max and I didn't know it was gonna expire, and I found out too late. So Anyway, there was some controversy with the Oscars because they basically restructured the whole ceremony to put the category that Chadwick Boseman was nominated under. They made that category the final category of the night. It was sort of implied that Chadwick was gonna win by that sort of whole restructuring, but then he didn't win. Anthony Hopkins won. So people are just kind of annoyed at the sort of whiplash of that and just like confused about why the Academy would exploit Chadwick so much and then just not even recognize him or honor him. I don't know. It felt shady. I didn't watch that part of the Oscars. I watched like a middle chunk at some point. But it was interesting how they produced the Oscars to have a lot more cinematic shots. I just noticed that in the small few minutes that I watched it. So, spoiler alert for season 13 of RuPaul's Drag Race. This is your warning. Here's a timestamp of when I stopped talking about that if you want to skip ahead. The RuPaul's Drag Race finale happened this month and Simone was crowned as the winner. A very deserving win, but a very odd and weird finale how they did it with COVID. And season 13 was just very insanely produced. So I found that interesting. I made a whole video about that you can check out if you're interested, but Simone was a great winner. I just think it was really between Gottmik and Simone this season, and Simone was really a front runner the entire season. So another pop culture moment that happened right at the end of the month, it's kind of a scandal, but it's not in the scandal section really. I just put it in here because I just found out about it and I was like, what the heck? So this is about the Pose premiere party, and apparently it got very juicy with Janet Mock's speech at the event. So Janet Mock is the executive producer and one of the lead creators of Pose, which is a very, very beloved show, very acclaimed. It is showing a fictional representation of the ball culture of New York City in the 1980s and 90s. It tells very raw, very emotional stories, especially about trans people, trans women. At this premiere party for season 3 of the show, it's the final season as well, Janet Mock went up and did a speech. There's not footage of this speech, actually. It was just reported by people present. But Janet Mock gave a speech where she criticized Hollywood a lot for how they have treated trans women of color like her, and how she's only making $40,000 per episode of Pose, which for a show this influential, this impactful, this critically acclaimed, is really nothing for a creator of this whole show, especially when it's someone from the trans community that really deserves a lot more money for something this big. So she criticized Hollywood for that, criticized like a bit of Ryan Murphy and his writing or who he brought in to write. Like, she sort of spoke to the hypocrisy of, you know, using them to look good for diversity while not like compensating them appropriately or treating them appropriately. So she made some great points about Hollywood, but she actually did divulge some details of her personal life that are a little more like, oh. She went on in her speech to talk about her relationship with Angel. Angel is the actor who plays Lil Poppy in the show. If you watch the show, it's a great show. Janet Mock apparently had been dating him, which I didn't know about really. I don't think it was secret, but she had been dating him for a little while. And in the speech, she admitted that she really loves him and wants to get him back, but she slept with someone on the crew. So it's messy, but I imagine being there was like, like one of those moments of like, oh my god, I can't believe she just said that. Honestly, I'm kind of glad for her sake that there's not footage of this. I think if there were footage, it would be a lot more of a big deal. But you can read the article if you're interested about all the things she was saying, and all that went down at that premiere party. I'll link that article below. I think it's by page 6. So hello, this is me in the editing process of this video, and I realized I totally forgot a couple of big pop culture moments, so excuse the different look and different sound. The first one I want to talk about is Zac Efron made headlines because people were reacting to this photo of Zac Efron where he looked a little different in the face. It looked like his jaw has been altered in some way. It sparked an interesting conversation between sort of how we talk about celebrities' appearances and how people are being too harsh. Basically, I feel like my side of the internet was very much like saying to stop commenting on it, stop criticizing him. I feel like more toxic people or more just casual internet users were kind of bullying Zac Efron about his new face. I honestly think that photo was just kind of like a specific angle, and it seems like he has had this look for a little while. He has opened up in his documentary series on Netflix that he struggled with like an eating disorder and has struggled with like his body image. I think that's why people are extra sensitive about criticizing his appearance, but I do think that screen grab was just like a bad angle as well. Like, he's already looked like this for a little while, so it's weird that people are just worried about it now. And the second one is actually a very similar viral moment, and this one was Khloe Kardashian. She posted an unfiltered photo online. It was accidental, and it was actually an unfiltered photograph of her body, but she had this photo sort of wiped from the internet as much as she could, and that sort of sparked a big conversation again about talking about appearance. And this one was interesting because the Kardashians have basically contributed to this culture of filters and plastic surgery. Basically, they can't even meet their own beauty standards, and that sort of was eye-opening, I guess. But like, people didn't have too much empathy, I feel like, for Khloe Kardashian, because they sort of blame the family as a big contributor for this type of selfie perfection culture. So those were two moments I sort of missed in the video, and now we'll go back to glamorous Zeleny. Okay, so now let's move on to pop music, which had sort of a lot going on this month. So Lil Nas X at the end of March released Montero, Call Me By Your Name, the song and music video, and this song really had the internet in a chokehold for a lot of the first half of the month, I would say. Conservatives were mad about it, Christians were mad that he was giving a lap dance to Satan, and there was a lot of great memes that came out of it, lots of funny reactions. On my TikTok, I saw a lot of like pole dance TikTok sort of making cool dances for it. It was so interesting, so great. Then we had Taylor Swift release her Fearless Taylor's version. So it was her first big I think it's her first album, her first big one, the one with Love Story and You Belong With Me and all those. She re-released that with her new recordings of it. And her fans got to indulge in a lot of nostalgia with that. Also, a lot of people were feeling old because young people were sort of discovering the album for the first time. Then we had Olivia Rodrigo release her second single, which there was sort of a lot of pressure and build up to this because her debut single, first single, Driver's License, was so huge, went to #1 on Billboard several weeks. So she had a lot to live up to. Obviously, I don't think she has to go #1 every time to be successful, and I think she had a very successful second single with Deja Vu was the name of the song. I actually liked Deja Vu more than Driver's License. It was a little more upbeat, but still similar thematically, I would say, to Driver's License. But Deja Vu did great on the charts. I don't think it went to #1, but it got up there in the top 10, and it was also used a lot on TikTok. With such a solid debut, it's going to take a lot for her to flop. I think, like, she seems to be on a great path. Her music is thematically cohesive so far. Her graphics are very in tune with Gen Z. She released, I think, her album cover art for her upcoming album, and it's so like teen, so great. I've actually seen the graphic designer of hers on TikTok show her process of making the cover art and stuff, so it seems like she is set up for a great debut album. Speaking of album cover art releases, there were a few this month that made headlines, I guess. Billie Eilish released her cover art for her upcoming album, I think to be released in the summer, Happier Than Ever, and based on the album art and sound of the first single, it's quite different from her previous album that was more dark and moody. The cover art for this album is a lot more bright, warm. She no longer has the green hair, so definitely it's a new era for Billie Eilish. And the first single sounded a lot more acoustic-ish to me than her previous works. So on the contrary, album art release that did not go about so well was Lana Del Rey. Lana Del Rey released this cover art for, oh, crap, what was the name of the album? Okay, so the Lana album is called Blue Banisters. Stan Twitter really trolled her for this because it was so poorly edited, or it looks like it's just like a selfie of her with like horrible word art. People dragged her on Twitter. Stan Twitter made a lot of edits of their favorite albums, saying like if Lady Gaga albums were made by Lana Del Rey, and the pictures were just horrendous. Graphic design is my passion vibes. People say her album art is always this bad, but I don't think it's been this bad in the past, honestly. In other music news, TikTok influencer Bella Poarch, who got famous for having like the most liked TikTok video of all time, and I think that record still stands at 40 million or above 40 million likes. It's just for making faces. She's teasing her pop music debut. From what I've seen on her TikTok, she does have a nice voice, but I think people are kind of annoyed at sort of the TikTok influencers jumping on music. It's like Disney actors jumping into music too. It's sort of just what they do when they're famous, because it's sort of easy money, especially if you have some sort of voice to work with. So I wanted to do a quick Billboard Hot 100 roundup of like the weeks in April and what was #1. Montero by Lil Nas X was #1. Then we had Leave the Door Open by Silk Sonic and Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. And Rap Star by Polo G. I had not heard of those two last songs, and they were #1 on Billboard. Like, I feel like the way I don't hear about men in music is astounding to me sometimes. Honestly, I thought there were some other songs that sort of had the internet talking. I think Kiss Me More by Doja Cat and SZA was a big deal this month. Telepatia by Kali Uchis was so huge this month, especially on TikTok. It was everywhere. It's a great song. That one is pure sultry vibes. And then finally, Demi Lovato released her docu-series that is her most vulnerable and raw yet. She opened up about her overdose in 2019, I believe. She talked a lot about what led up to it and her journey afterwards, and interviewing a lot of her friends and family. So it was a very thorough docu-series. I enjoyed watching it, and she released music along with it. I think a whole album, and the main song was Dancing with the Devil. So now let's get into the spiciest part of these videos for me, and that is the cancel watch, which is not just about who's canceled, it's just kind of where I'm putting just scandals in general. Since we were just discussing Demi Lovato, let's talk about Froyo Gate with Demi Lovato. So Demi Lovato had beef with this local frozen yogurt shop in LA. It mostly, I think, all played out on Instagram. The froyo shop is called The Big Chill in LA. What ended up happening is Demi Lovato went to get some froyo at the shop and was triggered by some other products that were towards the front of the store. The products were these sugar-free pastries that on the wrapper said like "Eat Me Guilt-Free." She posted a picture of that and said this: "Finding it extremely hard to order froyo from @TheBigChillOfficial when you have to walk past tons of sugar-free cookies or other diet foods before you get to the counter. Do better, please." And then put hashtag diet culture vultures. So then the froyo shop responded and was like, those are actually to cater to people with dietary restrictions, so people with diabetes or sugar aversion, whatever. So Demi released sort of photos of her DMing the shop, going back and forth with them saying we're just trying to cater to people with dietary restrictions, and her being like, you're still marketing it like diety. She ended up getting a lot of criticism from the public, the audience, the people for almost like ableism with this, like not considering people with dietary restrictions with this criticism. So I think the froyo shop got a bit lucky in that this product does work for people with dietary restrictions, but it is marketed in a diet sense. It's not marketed specifically to those communities that need sugar-free options. Demi sort of stood firm on that part of it, but she did make an apology video and sort of backtracked and said she regretted the way she went about it. She said, "I'm sorry I got the messaging wrong. My intentions were not to come in and bully a small business. That was not it. I walked in, was so triggered that I left without froyo, and it really made me sad. That's all it was, and I wanted to talk about that." This was a scandal where sort of both sides made some sense to me, like I said. I feel like Demi's message is actually very important and something not talked about often, about how these foods are marketed as guilt-free, which is implying that you should be guilty about eating froyo or whatever is the sugar option or the unhealthy option or whatever. And I can see how that is extremely triggering for someone with an eating disorder. Like, even I feel like for women it's triggering to have this type of diet culture put in our faces a bit. So I do see where she's coming from. I just feel like she could have brought up this topic and shown maybe different examples of this type of packaging, because it exists in all kinds of places, without like tagging and attacking or naming the exact small business. It's a larger issue than just one froyo shop, basically. And I think she addressed the apology well, like she regretted the way she went about it, which to me was the bigger issue, not what she was actually saying. So I don't know. The froyo shop is still like popping and has like lines out the door. So like that's why I'm also like, I know for a fact they're not ruined by this call out. So the next scandal is actually a part 2 from last video in March, where I talked about James Charles. James Charles on the first day of this month got fully canceled. He released an apology video on April Fool's. It was not an April Fool's joke. Again, the scandal was about him accidentally, supposedly texting or sexting with underage fans. It seemed to be common practice for James Charles to Snapchat message with fans, and overall just felt like a big abuse of power in general, on top of the actual like illegalness of, you know, sexting with underage minors. So it's a pretty big deal for James Charles, and he's been sort of MIA most of the month. He's lost some sponsorships, and he's been demonetized temporarily from YouTube. YouTube often pulls this crap and monetizes them quietly later on, so it's kind of performative of YouTube, and I think these other brands too. But he is MIA, reflecting. He's also apparently being sued by a former employee about how he didn't pay them overtime or didn't pay them for a lot of time worked, which is like, on top of all these issues, he is like a shitty boss. Surprise, surprise, I don't know. I think that's enough scandals for this month, so let me move on to social media. So let's start with Twitter, and there were a few tweet formats that were popular this month. So at the beginning of this month, we had this trend where people were saying, "My grandpa was such a vibe in the 40s," and it was like a black and white photo of a popular meme. "My grandparents in the 50s were such a vibe," and it's like Bella and Edward from Twilight, but black and white. This trend just felt like a new iteration of the "I'm gonna tell my kids this was blank," that trend on Twitter, if you remember it. Then we had this trend of showing pictures of like a particular actor or singer and saying they always understand the assignment, which is implying like that this actor or artist has range. And this one was interesting because I feel like it quickly lost meaning, because fans of just anybody were saying they understood the assignment when it's just like regular, a few roles the actor played. Or saying like Denali on Drag Race always understood the assignment when like she went home pretty early and got critiqued a lot, so like she didn't always understand the assignment. I don't know, it's just hyperbolizing, but this one sort of lost meaning real quick in my opinion. Then we had this like diagram meme format where it's like a small part and then a big part. It's almost like your first impression or first opinion on something and then the rest of the opinion on it. I'll show some examples here that I think will explain it better. I also saw this trend that was like trade offer, and I think this might have been a TikTok trend though. But I saw some memes on Twitter of like, I offer you blank, and for them, I don't know. So I have a few other random things that went viral this month on Twitter. We had this, I think a salutatorian photo, yearbook photo of like this goth girl. She was really fierce. She even responded and was like a really good sport about it. She was like, I'm glad my photo brought people joy. Like, then we had this clip. Oh my god, this clip is controversial, I guess, but it's so funny but so bad, you know. I don't know what show this is from, but it is a clip of like some reality show where some contestants are talking to a host, and the host is talking to one of the women about she had an abortion and how hard that was and whatever, and then at the end of it, the woman is like, yeah, they were twins, and then someone else in the crowd is like,
twins. Yeah, double homicide. Bitch. No, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for laughing, but if you see people on Twitter or on the internet say double homicide, it is a reference to this clip. So now on TikTok. So TikTok is very good at its algorithm, so it's hard for me to find exact mainstream trends, but I tried my best to compile the biggest trends I saw. One of the big ones this month was a lot of people were playing with the inverted filter on TikTok, and switching back and forth really fast was like a big trend. Basically, symmetrical people were flexing how symmetrical they were with these videos, and asymmetrical people were just like either freaking out about how asymmetrical they were or just like accepting and showing off how asymmetrical they were. And it was usually with Olivia Rodrigo's Deja Vu song playing in the background. But there was another song that was used for that trend as well. So a new game or genre of guessing game on TikTok became popular this month, and that was the siblings or dating guessing game. It's a bit of a cringy concept, but I'll admit, like, it is entertaining to play along. People will react to a photo of two people and have to guess whether they are dating or siblings, and sometimes it's weirdly confusing which one it is. And finally, a new slang term dropped this month. You may have heard of it, you might not. It's a new iteration of an old term, and it's the most confusing that I've had to deal with in my adult life. So that is sheesh. Sheesh, which is the new slang that Gen Z is saying when they are impressed by something. Back in my day, sheesh meant like sheesh, like damn, or like sheesh, like leave me alone. Like I don't know, it had more of a negative connotation. But now if a young person says sheesh to you, especially in this high-pitched way, that's I think how they mean it. Sheesh. It means they're impressed or they are happy for you. I actually have receipts of an actual young person talking to me and saying it this month. So the kids out there are saying it, confirmed. According to a random article I found, this slang term came from this TikTok of a frog, and the sound of it was just someone saying sheesh over and over, and then it just caught on TikTok. I don't know if I believe this theory, like it seems really random, but that's TikTok, I guess. So a surprise category, Instagram actually had something big enough happen on its app that is worth talking about, I say. In my last video, I said I wouldn't talk about Facebook or Instagram in the social media section because nothing original comes from those apps. No shade, but it's true. This month, Instagram actually pulled out something. The pillow face filter by, this is the creator of it. Celebrities, influencers, like comedy influencers, regular people. Lots of people are using this filter and having a lot of fun with it. Basically, it makes you look like you've had a lot of fillers and plastic surgery on your face, and it's very fun to play around with. So that's all I have for this month's trend report. I think it was pretty hefty for April. Please let me know if I have missed anything and what were your favorite trends this month that you saw on the internet or pop culture moments or anything. I would love to hear about it. April was really a big month for me personally. Lots of crazy things happened. I did move, as you can tell by my set, which that was a big positive. April was also filled with a lot of sadness for me. I lost my companion and furry best friend, Lena, my cat. She had been battling with kidney disease for a long time, and it's been really rough without her. It's been a very emotional month. The grief has been extremely difficult. She was literally the friendliest cat. She was a lap cat, always wanting to be on our laps. So friendly, and she had like the most beautiful, huge eyes and face. So I miss her so much, and I want to dedicate this video to her. I hope she can rest in peace. She was suffering a lot, so she will live on forever in my heart and in my YouTube banner if you want to go look at her. And she's on my profile picture too here on YouTube, so, and it's been really hard. If you've been through this, I'm sure you understand. April was just like so hectic for me. So I'm glad to be moving on to May, and I'm excited to see what's to come in pop culture and hopefully just more stability in my personal life too. With that, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed. I put out new videos once to twice a week about pop culture, reality TV, other trashy miscellaneous things. You can also follow me at Miscellaneous on Instagram or Twitter to find out about new videos, or just turn on the bell notification here on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.